For the introduction, I notice your surname is Tusk, and the Polish, as they say in Rhine, Tusk ma.
It's actually Tush. Tush is Polish for ink. It's very similar.
Tush is even better, actually. Tush ma, Latin Hebrew. Sorry if that joke has been heard before. But, I am absolutely privileged and honoured to come to Dungarvan. I've been aware of what's been happening here. I'm aware of the long distance history of Dungarvan because of my other role as a historian. That's where I started as a journalist, but picked up some history qualifications on the way and wrote a lot of history. And my fascination with what Dungarvan did in that 1700s, early 1800s, a port town to rival any of the port towns that we had in Ireland. It was where people landed, it was where boats ran, it was where the Fenians and the Fenian Rebellion, the 1849 Rebellion, a lot of the insurgents came into Dungarvan. It's reflected in the grandeur of the town. And in my childhood, it has to be said, the provincial towns of Ireland were tremendously run down. We just saw provincial towns in Ireland decay. Dungarvan was a victim, not only Dungarvan, almost everywhere in town. What this building represents is a reflection of that great grandeur in a town with a population of 8,000, a thriving agricultural town with an export business, boat building, all of those things went on here. And it all crumbled away. Pre-independent was gone by 1922. The capital wasn't there to rebuild it again. This building reflects that grandeur. We didn't reach the population of Dungarvan again past 8,000 till the time of the Celtic Tiger. That's how long and slow the recovery was. The recovery has been longer, and I'm sorry to say this, and slower in tourism than it has been in other aspects of the town. There's loads of things. Tourism works, and there's only two things that drive tourism that really work, that lay the foundation on which tourism is built. One of them is beds, and the other one is access. Mm-hmm. In Dungarvan's case, both of them are really poor. We're still behind on beds. I mean, Micheál has a grand plan to build a hotel here, and we need to build up, over a period of time, the number of beds that will make this a place that people will quickly identify through the booking process, be it tour operator or be it through the internet or whatever. Second thing was the access wasn't great. The road to Waterford at one stage was the worst road in the country, I have to say. All of that has improved massively. The opportunities are there. The launch of the Greenway, much is made of it, but I do think we're a long way off having a cycling product that will impress a European. We have six major greenways in the country, of which Waterford is probably held up alongside Mayo as the example of one that really works. They were easy options. They ran on old railway lines. There's a huge gap between here and Mallow to get the greenways all linked up. You're not going to do this on your own. You need to be lobbying, beating down doors, telling the politicians, Fáilte Ireland has a conflicted relationship with greenways because they saw it as an easy option, but their attention is elsewhere. They know how far behind we are on cycling product. In Germany, Germans come to Ireland expecting separated cycleways. They don't get them. They're put on the road with juggernauts and heavy coaches, things. There are something like, and my figures are out of date, there's something like 2,500 separated kilometres in France of greenway. There are something like 1,800 in Germany, and there's something similar in Spain, about 2,000. We have maybe, for a long time we had about 26, we maybe have 100 now. We're a long way behind it. If we're going to get into the cyclotourism business, we need not just Waterford to perform at a high level, but also Waterford to get interconnected. I'm a huge fan of ferries. I did so how much a fan of ferries am I that I did the Rosslare to Bilbao ferry, which takes 30 hours in each direction. Just went over, got off it, and then came back again. So that's how much I love the RC. But a lot of the selling point of that is in the new environmental movement, that you cycle to Rosslare. Wouldn't it be nice to get on your bicycle in Rosslare? You're too far from Donegal, you're not really going to be cycling there, you're certainly going to be cycling to Waterford and seeing the beautiful. Now Waterford's, if you were to think of Waterford, I said this in Waterford Radio earlier on, as a country, let's say you're an island, nobody else exists, you are the same size as Mauritius. You're the same size as the island of Rhodes, and you're the same size, you're somewhere between Gran Canaria and Tenerife. And if you were to pick, just ignore what's going on with the places that people, iconic places that people see Irish imagery from, like the Cliffs of Moher, the Guinness Storehouse, the Giant's Causeway, the Titanic Centre. They're the most of the others in Dublin, or most of the other places that get more than are just up to 1 million customers a year. But if you were to take what Waterford has, and I don't need to itemise that to this audience here, you're very committed, you know exactly what we're talking about in beaches, we know exactly what we're talking about in mountains, in rivers. I heard one of my colleagues here describe the Blackwater as the Rhine of Ireland. I love that, I never heard that before. The history and the culture, you're not going to get more central to Ireland's Christian heritage than Ardmore. You're not going to get more central to Irish literary and linguistic culture than Ring. And all of these treasures are on an island, let's say Waterford's an island the size of Mauritius. If you were at World Travel Market saying, come to Waterford, these are the posters you'd have. These are the images you'd be putting in people's heads, the same as Mauritius does, or the same as Rhodes does. And people would say, wow, I got to go there. We suffer a deficit in many of the counties of Ireland that we're sort of saying, okay, we're trying to play catch up with Kerry, we're trying to play catch up with somewhere else. Like most of our visitors come to 6 counties, Galway, Clare, Kerry, Cork. Kerry's the leader, as tends to happen in these things. Kerry, Cork, Galway, Clare, and Antrim, and way out ahead for other reasons. Even of Kerry is Dublin. It's where the airport is. It's where all the action is in terms of parties and Temple Bar and that stuff. The rest of that's 6 out of our 32. So the other 26 are all with the sitting on these great advantages, which they don't really know. They are aware of them, and they're not lacking in energy, and they're not lacking in enthusiasm, but they don't really know where to go with them. They are lacking in the 2 crucial things I started with, beds and access. You build up along that way. The quick way to beds is self-catering and bed and breakfast. That's what saved Irish tourism in the 1950s. That's always going to be there. I'm worried about the headwind of the legislative change that the Irish Self-Catering Federation is giving out about, and I know there are many members in Waterford. The other thing we've got to understand is how modern tourism and post-pandemic tourism hasn't got its shape back. It's quite different from pre-pandemic. It really works on clusters, it really works on itineraries, it makes some decisions being made saying, what am I going to do today, tomorrow, and the day after? What am I going to do for kids? What am I going to do for the grandmother? Waterford has all of the options there, but it's going to take people who probably don't know each other very well, working very, very closely in combination. Build your clusters, concentrate on 3, concentrate on 4, get your indoor attraction, get your boat trips, all of those sort of things that people really, really go for. Your whaling experiences offshore, all of these things that you have, and work them and work them and work them and shout them, because people aren't taking you serious. You're a domestic tourism destination, you're not an international. You're going to get to international, you're not there yet. What the headwinds? A couple of things we've got to watch. Beware of own goals. Beware of what's happening nationally. I feel there's an anti-tourism movement growing. I feel that it's partly tied up with the anti-immigration. There's a sort of a thing on when hotels apply for planning permission long ago, there was a sort of sense that tourism brings money into the community, brings all the things we need. Do we need that anymore? Let's object to the hotel. There's a problem at the airport. The airport cap makes no sense whatsoever. It's based on the traffic that was on the M50 in 2006. In those days we had 2 lanes, we had a barrier that lifted. there's a strong lobby keeping that airport cap, or determined to keep that airport cap for other reasons, for other agendas. Environmental, I'm all for it, but I don't think that stopping tourism is going to be the cure to making things more sustainable. It's a very European argument. You don't hear it in Africa, Asia, anywhere like that. And I don't see consumers making a decision to go somewhere because it's more sustainable than somewhere else. It's the sort of thing people say in surveys. Oh, I'd love to, but then they go on the internet and they see the price is €200 more because sustainable tourism prices are higher. The only market where it is really working well is Scandinavia and parts of Germany, but it's not something that people should be plunging their heart and soul into. It's not that it's not serious, it's just that in the market that we exist, that we're working, it's not going to get you the bookings that you need. What's really interesting is the diversion of resources away from things that get people bookings that into sustainability. Our Portfolio Ireland has virtually closed down its food programme. I don't think anyone is booking Ireland because it's a sustainable destination. I know lots of people book Ireland because we're world championship food producers. I've just been indulging the oysters here. We're the superstars of beef and mutton. You can taste the salt in the mountains. You can taste what bay the oysters come from. And that's regarded as less important than the agenda, the sustainability agenda. We're going to all work on sustainability. We'll all do our bit, and we've got to work our hotels and our vehicles and the way that we transport our tourists around. But it's not as the massive issue as it is in the heavy, the high octane burning, the high burning markets such as the United States as it is in Ireland. So let's stop beating ourselves up about it. That's probably a little bit controversial to say, but I really think that we are diverting valuable resources away from things we do well into something that is peripheral, and that's another own goal. The last of the own goals is people. I was on the 6-1 News tonight talking about the pilot strike. What I said was that from Wednesday it'll be service as normal. The pilot members will vote by an overwhelming majority, 97-98%, to accept the package. The cancellations can't be reversed, so Tuesday will be the last of the cancellations, and Wednesday it'll all back to normal. When I was on, I was on from the Waterford studio, and they introduced me from the Waterford City studio of RTE and didn't say why I was here. But the comedians on social media then started pointing out, did I get my tan in Waterford, right? So I've done my bit for Waterford already. So this is leading up to a point, a serious point. Other countries have better weather than Ireland. Shock, shock, horror, horror. Other people have better scenery, they've better coastline, they've better beaches. Other people have better food. You know, they're more famous for their food. They probably don't have better food, but if you're going to France and Italy, you're going to expect all this dramatic, all this high theatrical stuff around the food, which we don't really do enough of yet. But what we lead in, and what we get repeat tourists to, and what we send our tourists home talking about is our people and our welcome. And the product doesn't have to be the best in the world, but if you're met with smiling faces, if you're going home with a massive experience, a life-changing experience that I can't encounter. And I'm talking about the simplest things. Someone I met in America who said they asked to stop for directions, then a car chased them 3 or 4 kilometers, flashing the lights. They thought they were going to be kidnapped. And he said, oh, I meant right when I should have said left. I also